So welcome everybody. This is a open access assembly of the Zeitgeist Movement, a global meeting. The purpose of this meeting is for us to discuss what tasks are in the agenda. Um, it's also a time to ask for help in our projects and for ask the team to help us out in an initiative. This is where we create the calls to action. And there's a notes to the meeting, a notepad, which is also where we write our progress report. So the link has been shared in the invoice chat, which is where we chat, where we text while we are having this meeting. And everyone who's on a computer, I recommend opening that up and adding a few lines of progress reports when you can. And it's always good if we raise our hand in the text, if we when we want to speak, so that we don't talk over each other and everybody can have a chance to speak. So you can either do that by writing "I raise my hand" or with a little emoticon of a hand. Um, so I think we can start now with the topic that Brandon put in the agenda. So the agenda is established. Anybody can add to the agenda before the meeting starts, and the agenda is shared. The link to it is shared in the call to the assembly. So anybody can do that for the next assemblies if they'd like to. So Brandon, the floor is yours.
Okay, sweet. And sorry if I'm chopping in and out here. Am I coming through okay?
Yes.
Okay. And yeah, just put in the chat right now a roadmap basically, or a cumulative, just collaborative online platform that we used just this morning with Andy and I actually put it together. Andy from the UK, just above me, put this thing together, and this is cumulative. This can be added to, but basically, what I consider like what is trying. The purpose of this thing is trying to be a roadmap for list out various change toward the redesign of society. It lists the shared networks on there, lists the technical dimensions of open source. And you guys can add to it. I think anyone who has this link can add to it. Hopefully, it doesn't crash it or anything like that. But I think it should be fine. But yeah, it lists the political order, the structural change that we talk about, and the purpose of and the role of art, purpose and role of building understanding and awareness, which is the essence of what our movement defines. Our movement really spreading awareness, getting people to think logically and clearly, to think sanely and see beyond the races, classes, reject race and class, and reject violence, abandon violence in all phases of their lives, and to go through the nonviolent approach of movement activism and direct action and awakening culture, but yet all these other approaches too, and we fill those in and just I don't know, it's just we need to. It occurs to me that we really need some kind of roadmap, something for people to see these various avenues for that can begin to affect transition, account for them all. A lot of people are wanting to do the share networks. A lot of people are wanting to do the off-grid, sustainable co-ops and whatnot to demonstrate the technologies and begin to obsolete the system in different ways. And be good just to be able to list this out so we can see it, a little framework, body of knowledge, tree. And this is just one example, by the way. I mean, this if anyone's who's looking at right now, it's just a tree, uh, knowledge tree or whatever, broken down into supersets, and main categories are broken down into smaller categories, and so on. It's just a comprehensive, hopefully, way to thanks, Case, to look at this stuff. And it's just one way. It looks a little bit like mud on a wall because there's a lot that gets in there, but this is just something that we started this morning. And I mean, I'm still, I mean, as unsure as anyone else as to what maybe even the main categories should be, but like, for example, maybe there should just be like an education, communication main category that other things would fall under, but I really like where it's going, and that's really what I wanted to share. That this is part of the 2.0 expansion of the movement's activism to include all these relevant avenues for facilitating radical, holistic change. And these things overlap, obviously, and that's the point too, that we can use these things in concert and just know how it knits together. And we can maybe even note on there too, like what overlaps and what complements the other things. And I think it'll help people kind of place their activism and not just have be scattered with these different kind of interests and strengths that we have, but be able to piece together into conceptual just vision, a unified vision. That's what we need and what we've always been about it as a unified activism. And this is a good, healthy evolution because people have always complained about like transition. We don't know, how to transition. Well, yeah, we do. We've evolved greatly, and these things, the individual, just like there's a part for individual. For anyone who's not looking at it, let me just run down these categories. You basically have, of course, the individual. The change starts with you. Uh, being the change you want to see in the world. You have to change, I have to change, and we all have to change together and live it and actualize ourselves and our potential as amazing human beings and overcome our traumas and actualize ourselves into sane, just beautiful, productive humans and like special abilities. Even Millennial, one of our guys on here that talks a lot, mentioned this the other day that the emergence of special qualities and abilities need to like happen if we're gonna push this paradigm shift needed to be able to be patient with each other and reject the stress, and reject the fear, and be loving and good natured in a world that's so insane and doesn't do the right thing. And to do the right thing, even when maybe no one else is, or there's no payoff, but just because it's right in principle, and
Yeah.
just living by principle, and these principles right here, it's a train of thought, arrives at the RBE model. It's living by these principles, the systems, train of thought, and scientific worldview. And anyways, but so there's the individual actualization, and then there's like I would say the art aspect to inspire culture and bring culture together and have you know I like this the sensual presentation of ideas. That's what art can be defined as, the sensual presentation of ideas. I thought that was good. And then there's the political order with all these structural change policies that we need to know as a structural movement. We need to know what that means. We can't just vacuously be alluding to structural change. We need to know when people ask what we mean by system change and defunding the police and or revolutionizing police or revolutionizing the legal system. We need to kind of know these policies and be ready and account for that dimension. I mean, I was talking to can't even think. Yeah, Andy this morning, and we are talking about a lawyer and lawyers who come in that can help with kind of like legislation and drafting up bills. I mean, we are an economic theory movement, and we live this stuff and have been for years now. We know we should be drafting policy and whatnot. And policy is going to differ based on region. I mean, certain countries are going to go after different aspects and different mechanisms of the system, but we have to be going after these core mechanisms of the system listed here. The UBI, the universalization of infrastructure. Working towards systems of access, removing the private power from of nonsense from the system, private power control, working to remove these core mechanisms of capitalism, private corporate power that needs to be detached from health, education, the political decision-making process, etc. We need sustainability initiatives, scientific benchmarks. If you guys have heard of the Green New Deal here in the U.S. system, that thing needs a hell of a lot of work. It needs, it's got a good start, and I know there's people working on it, but this kind of structural movement can link into that kind of stuff and help detail and like promote the scientific benchmarks for things that we need, those binding legal sustainability benchmarks for industry that they have to meet it, otherwise it's illegal. And I know it sounds like in system change, and I've heard a lot of people say this, that you can't change the system from within, and you can't use the same system that produces inequality and such and such. But the difference is we can target quote core mechanisms of the system, private power and whatnot, listed there on this doc, and implementing sane, sustainable mechanisms like basic income, which can begin to transition things. We can target specific mechanisms to transition to a new system, not just maintain and preserve, capitalism. We can be beyond the political two-party system, just division and nonsense too. But moving on here, the other core approaches are movements, the role of movements, the role of share networks, the role of off-grid co-op communities, and I think I went through the other ones. Again, technical development, international aid and development. I thought was really cool too. I haven't even looked at that. That was new to me when I looked at this. I think that's a really beautiful and kind of just speaks to who we are as a movement too. Element to add. So anyway, I just wanted to end, I guess, with just that. Yeah, we are a movement that's about initially and just first and foremost elevating the understanding of society. Progress is tied to our level of general understanding of the world. Until people become aware of the flaws of the system and possibilities for a new one, and get beyond the bias and identity traps which keep us ideologically divided, and stop being manipulated by these false narratives against of scarcity and incentive and this like state governance neurosis stuff, then we're not going to be able to change much. It starts with cultural awakening and awareness and unification. So that piece and the structural change piece is just who we are as an essence. Remains our main focus, but yet we can have these avenues and include these, and we'll need to use diversity of tactics to realize this radical change. So that's all for now. Let me know what you guys think, and if anyone, of course, I yield the floor.
I love that. Can I have a copy of that transcript? Everything you
Document
just
here.
no of everything you just said. Your opening,
Oh, cool.
because I'd like to read it, and I'd like to take some of that information and store it in my brain so I can maybe recite it to some people at some point in time. Just pieces of it.
I will point out that a lot of things that Brandon just mentioned
Yeah, I
are
know.
basically they're kind of like so I would say that they basically best describe like the approach and the meaning of what TZM 2.0 is supposed to mean, as far as like its approach and the perspective on how to take on stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I think that was really well said, Brandon. Super.
yeah, it was great, Brendan. Thank you. Did you write that?
I mean, I just sorry. It's just something that I mean, it's been on my mind.
Oh,
I didn't
you
really
just
write it. Been looking
you
just looking
just
at the
you just
document.
you just said all of that off the top of your head.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh, well, that was impressive.
Mark, what's it you want to say something?
Yes, I really like it a lot, Brandon and Andy. It's really a great idea, and I think well, I've already started to try it out and to move things around in the area that I'm specialized in, which is in the free collaboration network, and it's a very good software. It's a very good app, and I will see to add some links to that and to develop that further. Um, there's one thing that I think would be interesting would be to somehow add add to it in the appropriate places. Maybe it'd be a way to like another way we could categorize things, but by adding a little label to them or something above them or something like that. the avenues for transition that Peter describes in the New Human Rights Movement, which there are 5 branches uh, of direction of improvement, and there are the 3Ds. I think it's deterring, detachment, and I forget the other one, but um, they could also be useful to help people visualize what part of the transition everything is piecing into. I fully agree that political avenue is also necessary, and that all change happens in a step by step way. There's no like teletransportation to a new system, so we have to do it step by step, and um, the ones that are laid out there are very appropriate. Setting up, establishing like better public systems, basically, because that's what it kind of translates to. Is having a universal healthcare, universal education, better public housing, and also food, um, and transportation. Right? It kind of that's that's what it translates to in our language, so to speak. Even though um, we, yeah.
It's
So yeah, that's great.
it's really cool.
Great, thank you.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. And thanks, Andy, for this really. And this isn't my typical way of listing things out. I tend to make things framework. Sorry, I'm cutting in and out here. I list things more like frameworks. Just I don't know, drier, not like this mapping kind of way. But I don't know if this is the best way to even look at it. But I mean, it's just a start, and it's so cool to see everyone in there, kind of filling things in, like the under the share networks thing, which is kind of a fuzzy area. I'm not really that familiar enough with it, but yeah, like the hacker space stuff I've heard of a lot. That needs to be filled in, and just oh, where is that? Lost it. Yeah, like the meals aspect. Cool to see it all kind of fill in. Andy, did you have anything you wanted to mention on it?
Not a lot. I was just thinking of some of the context of what we were saying there when you were talking about the idea of politics and parties and that we were discussing. There's usually this argument people have of whether a party or something is going to be worth the effort and things like that. And I was looking into what I thought of as the small successes of Extinction Rebellion, and seeing how it takes a long time for things like the Green Party or the Pirate Parties of that to get really any foothold or any seats and do much. Whereas really quite quickly, Extinction Rebellion hadn't set up any party, but they had put through a bill, the climate emergency bill, and tried to get existing parties to have a look at that. And it seemed like for making a difference in a short span of time, that seemed a good use of time and ought to be sort of branched off there. Like, what would you try and pressure on existing people in politics to look at? And we were, especially talking about this idea that the more you do in the artistic sphere, you are trying to move the Overton window to make what you want to have to be discussed in the media. And that we've seen little bits of that change over the years in terms of looking at technological unemployment and the impacts of what's going on in the world and climate change and all this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like that description too. It's shifting the Overton window. Art really does that, and um, it's a powerful use. Of course, we have the Zeitgeist Media Festival events that we hope to continue, and those are they. Yeah, everyone kind of knows the role of art, and I was just gonna say, I would say this: art has the way of changing your mood, obviously, which then shifts your perspective from that new emotion. Anyway, but yeah, the political thing, like parties and all that, like they're trying to start a new party here in states, People's Party, and I don't know if we can't take over the, I mean, existing Democratic Party, as it were, then how are we going to be able to start a whole new party from scratch? I don't know. And then because you have to change all these state laws and whatnot, we've been very apolitical as a movement. Obviously, we've pointed out and exposed the political system for all its flaws and whatnot. And we're not going to align with any political party, but at least we can target specific core mechanisms in that sense. Institutional structural change. That's where it's implemented, legal and legislative political order. And it's the only thing a lot of times you actually even can change outside, aside from just out system activism, which is a rough road, obviously, too, to say the least. They own everything. They have all the power and the laws, and the only thing you can't change corporations, private power. I mean, the only thing you can really engage is the decision making governance process, and we can't.
You cut out there, Dirt.
You cut out, Brown.
Can't hear you there.
I think I'll just like add that especially like what again what Brandon is saying is very important, and also that yeah, I mean the zeitgeist movement is apolitical, or it's just basically not aligned with any political ideologies or whatnot. But I think especially like in the sphere where he or people in the United States are coming from. So basically, like someone like I think his name is Andrew Young. I think from this money. I think he's from the Money Free Party, or maybe I don't know what. I'm not familiar with American politics very well. But you know that people like he, for example, that basically you know imply the idea of a moneyless society, and basically looking in for a system that brings upon well-being for everyone nationwide and beyond. I think are definitely people of interest to also even have speak for the movement or be interviewed and collaborated. So I think especially that you know that because just because he's involved in politics, for example, doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to speak with him or try to collaborate. And I think that's one of the points that Brandon was trying to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, Baimuk, maybe do you want to mention anything about any thoughts or progress in Global Z Day in Mongolia?
Yeah, hello all, and greetings from Mongolia. Um, so, in Ulaanbaatar, in our capital city, we have COVID cases surging at the moment, and in the last 2 weeks, we've been under 2 weeks of lockdown, and yesterday it was extended for another 2 weeks. So that's in terms of COVID situation. That's that, and that's actually making it difficult for our zeitgeist and supporters meet and discuss our Z-Day plan. But despite that, we keeping some discussion going on in terms of how we can recruit some other people to support us. And we have now tentative program for the Z Day, and that's been the program has been circulated among the supporters and those people who support us, and generally all of us agree. I mean, support the idea. I mean, the agenda as it is for now. And I think just after the lockdown, few of us need to go and meet some local, people who can, potentially be presenters at our meeting. And so I think in May and June we can make, meet several people and agree on participants, and also we will need to go out and meet some venues, possible venues. And after that, I think we can prepare our final, final agenda, which will be shared online and distribute, online, I think, yeah. So that's the situation here. If you guys have any questions, or then feel free to ask.
Yeah.
Do you still have everything with the venue down over there? Is that all stable and okay still?
Venue?
Yeah, the place where you have the event.
Oh yeah, we have a couple of places in mind, but we need to go out and see, meet, uh, I mean, the owners of the venues to see um, if they can help us on that.
Yeah. And I'll just throw out there as well, just so everyone else has a clear understanding. Especially since I was also basically involved with the last global event from last year. It is a real pain, royal pain in the ass to organize any kind of event right now with the pandemic. So it's very difficult to, for example, sometimes get clear word if we can host an event at this place or in that place. And then sometimes, like for example, even the Harpa, which is the building, the state of the art, massive building here in Iceland, where we're supposed to be having Global Z Day last year, which would have been absolutely breathtaking. I mean, we were in contact with them the whole time, and we tried to see if we can negotiate even some kind of a deal that they give us like a lot of space, but at like a reduced price and all these things. But the problem was is that yeah, just because the lockdown made everything very complicated, and it's, I mean, of course the event wound up becoming online, and we wound up doing everything from our bedrooms or living rooms or wherever. But it was a real drag to like find out just literally a few weeks before the date of the event that we weren't going to be able to have it in the in Harpa at all. But I mean, so I mean, it's definitely something that's very difficult for this time being to try and organize something at all. But I have a feeling that by the time of like in the later part of the year, when Global Z Day is supposed to happen, so like in the mid late fall, that hopefully by that time there shouldn't be many cases in over in Mongolia, and then also that should be able to welcome at least some people locally or even international guests from Asia. Because I also know by Mook that a few people from Japan really want to participate and help, and I was gonna ask them if they would like to maybe even give you a hand with some stuff on the days following Global Z Day, and yeah, it would be really nice, I think.
That sounds good. At this moment, the government have vaccinated, I think, 35 to Ulaanbaatar. So they saying that by June 1st, all Mongolian population will be vaccinated. So I think by the end of September or October, the situation here will be, I think, generally fine, because this is our basically maybe third wave of COVID cases. So after the summertime, I think it shouldn't be very difficult in September. So it's also good to learn that we can get help from people in Japan.
Yeah, I mean, I see like a surge in people from Asia that also want to become more active in the movement and whatnot from Asian countries. And I think the global ZDM Mongolia is definitely encouraging that. It's just like for everyone, that's here from like North America or from Europe or whatnot, is that you have to understand is that for them, activism or involvement in these kinds of things like the Zeitgeist movement happen on a different, not only on a different time frame, but are just basically from a point of view in life just kind of different than how we expect them. And so not to have like very specific expectations that you may expect wherever you're from, that there's just they're basically again just through a whole nother part of the world and system, and their involvement in TZM is perhaps a little bit different than ours, and how they incorporate their means and activism in their life or whatnot. So that's just really important to take in mind. And there has been in the past a lot of activity in Asia from the Zeitgeist movement years and years ago, and that kind of declined over the years. And I think that was just kind of because that the former model that we were kind of implementing, that maybe it was suggesting too much demanding, like for a one size fits all, or like a certain like restrictive system or whatnot. Yeah. Anyway, the whole thing is that it didn't really work out. But I mean, Mongolia, where Baimuk is from, they've been having they've had, or not global, but they've had Zeitgeist Day events every single year since the beginning of the movement's time. And they've been also doing things from all their own approaches that best fit Mongolia. And I think it's been really cool to see how they've been developing and doing their thing in Asia. And it's very inspiring, actually. Oh my goodness, Brandon, you've been missing out on some nice dialogue. Why did you leave us?
I have my the restaurant I was in, like my phone was providing the Wi-Fi, so my phone died, and then everything else shut down. The Wi-Fi. So I'm back though.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Also, Biomoke, another thing is that whenever it comes down to like when it comes down, for example, to like if you guys need any kind of financial help or something for affording some aspects of Global Z Day this year, whatnot, for auditorium or any kind of advertising or whatnot, then it's just kind of like don't be afraid to like come here on Discord or the Facebook or the forum or some place to ask for help, and maybe even leave a link of like a crowdfunding link or something, because this is something that was actually done 2 years ago from the Global Zeitgeist Day, and in Buenos Aires, Argentina, that they had done this and raised 2,002 grand for basically the whole event, and they were able to make it admission free, which was quite surprising that they pulled it off. So yeah, but I mean, yeah, don't be afraid to ask help from the community and even people outside the community as well, and gaining their interest in taking part in an idea like this.
Sure, will do. And I think by the end of June, I think we will be able to have some estimates of what, I mean, money we need or what support we need from others. Maybe earlier than June.
Yeah.
So by then, we will let you know, guys, if we need any help.
You're in Mongolia?
Yeah, I'm in Mongolia, in Ulaanbaatar.
Well, cool. All the best with everything and your plans. I kind of missed, I guess, what the updates on that are, but all the best with things leading up.
I think maybe I'll just throw in really quickly as far as like news that we did a whole bunch of a whole bunch of maintenance again on the Discord server here, just doing some cleanup work, some channels that weren't very necessary to have. We archived them or whatnot, and maybe we changed some descriptions of them. We even put a new channel here on the server, which may be of interest to you all, called the Zeitgeist. So hence the cultural climate of the era, and people can like post things in there. It's kind of like things that are like really relevant of what's going on like in this current now, which affects us globally. So I thought that was really cool. And then yeah, just you'll see an announcement. This is supposed to happen 2 weeks ago, but again, just March was a crazy ass month. But we'll make some announcements of some of the changes that I'm talking about later on in the day. Yeah, that, and we had a really, I mean, some of us who are involved with the Discord server also had a really nice long and wonderful conversation with Case, who's responsible for the forum, and definitely got a nice introduction further in how it works, and to what benefits it could be for anyone that wants to communicate with each other in the movement. And that's really cool that we can collaborate with him on that and be of good help. And check that out if you're interested in forum work and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, we're going to be also improving as he's improving the forum as well. We will be doing the same here on Discord and making a really nice environment for everyone to participate and do stuff in. Mark, yes.
Yeah. So I was looking at the links and resources thread because I was going to add the this map to it, and I see that you've closed it to the general public, and you've put a whole bunch of important threads there. But I feel that there are quite a few that would also be good to add there. Um, so I suppose that we just have to ask you about that so that you can add them there. But that reminds me of the topic of projects, of TZM 2.0 projects. I think it's useful for us to have like a general definition of what TZM 2.0 projects are, and I um, I personally suggest that anything that anybody proposes at the assemblies and that is generally in line with the movement, can be considered a TZM 2.0 project, um, and that should be listed somewhere so people who want to get active can know how to find that project, find the person working on that project, and work on that project with them. And I think that maybe we in general we agreed that it'd be better to have them in the forum, but I think it'd be good to have links to them here as well.
Oh yeah, and also like maybe even on the main website. I mean, on all of our platforms, kind of have this, and it can link around and whatnot. Yeah, I think that's great, Mark. You have a really good point. Is just as far as staying, and it may make sense to the person's whose project it is, but I mean, people will tell you when it's not quite clear. These things would be good. Yeah, I guess we can add this like roadmap for transition. We're also putting together, I guess you could make another little one project, like it would list the wisdom learned. I mean, many have been talking in here just about the wisdom learned over the years of being in the movement. And some of us have been here longer than others, of course, and learned it and had different experiences. So just like, for example, not just being critics of a unsustainable system, corrupt system, but visionaries for, you know, a new system, being architects of the future, as Buckminster Fuller put it, and continuing to build on Jock's work and everything that's come before. And, Peter's different approaches, deter, detach, and whatnot. And we have that demarketization in that roadmap thing. And his automation, localization, his other ones. So we can see how those implement. But yeah, just we can be specific with projects. That'd be good.
Yeah, so I see that in the TZM community page, we have a list of projects, and there are two there. Although I think that it'd be good for the list of projects to be easier for people to find in general, and we can have them in multiple places, including in the links and resources. We could have direct links to the projects. Both the websites and the forum section, because I think we agreed that that'd be a good place instead of having threads here for every single project, to have a thread in the forum, because that's more organized and easier.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it right now. Projects under
You link in the community page here as well?
well, I think we're referring to Discord, right, Mark?
No, actually, I was referring to the community page. That's where I see the list of projects. In the Discord, there's also a list of projects, but they don't. They're not the same ones. And I'm thinking maybe somehow we should try to consolidate so that we have the same projects everywhere.
And I actually want to make a comment on that too, just so everyone knows. And I told this to Case as well the other day, is that the community pages is going to get a humongous face makeover, basically. And a lot of changes will be done to it, both aesthetically as well as changing information on projects and branch. It's a project that's in progress right now, but stay tuned, and of course I'll let everyone know when that takes on, basically.
Is
No, he is basically taken. He wants no responsibility with TZM right now, unfortunately.
So the reason why I mentioned that is because some of us are working on things regularly, and we would really enjoy the general support of the community and possible newcomers to be able to find our projects. And so Mikal has an interesting project with copiosis, and I have a project that you guys may know of, changingtheworldiseasy.com.
Yeah.
Did you link
Guys,
it, Mark? If you want to link it, Mark, in the chat. Did someone say something?
oh yeah, it was me. I personally very interested in some Asian projects, and if anyone is thinking or starting similar initiatives, would like to share some ideas and
Which
experiences.
education projects?
Well, for example, like I can say that that Oleksiy, he and the Ukrainians are working on a platform project that basically is related to an educational project. I mean, they're building kind of like they're developing a kind of like a TZM Trello, basically, and also within its TZM Trello, also comes in an educational project, basically that's able to showcase like different aspects of importance of the movement. There's that, and I was even trying to get him to meet up with all of us again, including you, Bayamuk. But also Brandon just posted something here that basically relates to his uh, some stuff, or millennials working on a revisional document. It's in the here on the International Voice chat on Discord. You could take a look.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, what I have in mind is that kind of a shadow training, I mean, education curriculum for, I mean, like primary and secondary school. And personally, I have started reviewing some Mongolian curriculums used in Mongolian schools, like how they teach children about economy and how they teach about psychology, whether they teach in psychology or not, etc. So just improving that with some zeitgeist train of thought ideas would be, I think, a good start to, I mean, changing, I mean, retraining people or training young
This was
people.
actually one of the primary focuses of James Phillips. Some in here might be familiar with him. He was a activist in the movement for, I think, the very first 7 years or so of the movement. And one of the big projects or events he was trying to organize was something called TZM Education. And so therefore, he was working really hard to push that, but it required a lot of resources and finance. And it was also happening at a time where the movement was kind of like shrinking in activity. And so he wound up also having, I guess he had some other problems that he had to address movement and that project, which was a shame because if you looked on the global Facebook page at the time, you would have seen how much anticipation there was for him to follow up with that event, which was supposed to happen in December of last year in 2020, like a big premiere basically of TZM Education. Never happened, and also I don't think it would have even happened considering the COVID pandemic and how he didn't know 5 years earlier that that was going to be the case. But also, like, just to let you know, by Mok, that also Alexi is also working on this education that are at our same level of understanding, so to say, of these ideas. But I mean, his wife, my cousin, is a school teacher, and so basically, she is working with children. And the idea is that he's also working on a program that basically introduces sustainable economics or sustainable, like, holistic thinking to pupils and at the younger level. He's trying to implement this in Ukraine, and he's making actually a video about it for the TZM Ukraine YouTube channel. Unfortunately, all in Ukrainian. I'm trying to help him make English subtitles or other language subtitles for it. But anyway, definitely, maybe give. I'll let you know. I'll maybe post this on the global page when it's finished. Because of course he's speaking very much what you are right now, and I mean you both are fathers, so you think about these things a lot, I think, and I think that's really important that we can keep it in mind.
Thanks. Sounds good, and looking forward to get some information.
Yeah, I've got lessons. I was invited to give a class basically, and it went well. They, yeah, I spoke to them about, well, generally our ideas, the problem with the monetary system, and how we have to provide everybody free access to everything. I actually have a little a game set up. It's a dynamic, a group dynamic with cards, and it can be. I have like the PDF to print out to then turn a deck of cards or a few decks of cards into the game. And you send me a direct message, or if you ping me or remind me if you're interested, I can send you the PDF for you to print out and do it. It's something that within like 10, 15 minutes, the children can, or anybody can realize that trade is extremely inefficient, and that the most efficient way for everyone to get access to things is just to give it to them. And yeah, and I also I'm always working on songs that are also very good at reaching children.
Okay, thanks. And I will remind you.
Uh, Case, thanks for coming, and yeah, keep up all the great work that you're doing with the forum and everything, and the organizing in your area.
You too, and take care, everyone.
Oh,
Talk to you soon.
take care, guys.
See you.
Good case.
Thank you all.
So we've gone through all the topics that were in the list. Maybe Jack, do you want to speak a little more about your idea of the deep discussions?
Yes. Just just having some troubles with my Discord, my phone. But now I'm here back. Yeah, what I would like is to have somebody to discuss with. Sometimes I'm sitting and what I would really like to do is I wanted to make a YouTube channel, and I have wanting to do this for years. And sometimes I'm recording some stuff, and I understand how little or how many things I actually don't know, like how difficult it is, and give it an angle where it's easy to digest for different types of people. So I'm trying to do this, but it requires a lot of so I'm sitting every day a little bit, and I'm trying to learn more and more about different subjects. But what I would really like to have is somebody to discuss things with sometimes. And I used to have a meeting in Kiev where we would meet a group of people together and we would discuss things about society. It was not directly connected to a moneyless society. Sorry. But because we were talking about a lot of different subjects, it always ended up being we in indirect ways. So I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that I would really like to have somebody to discuss with, and it should be some people that have really like they thought about the materials, not only on the surface level, but so you can have a deeper philosophical discussion about things.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think there's just I think there's a small amount of group of people that are depth and breadth and width.
Well, you're definitely in the right place.
I think
I mean, we're all
most
about
of us.
discourse here right now, evolving ideas. We're all about evolving ideas and having a discourse and working through these ideas and communicating.
I think it sounds like a great idea. And I think we could make the open discussion on the server more active. So I think if you have something you want to discuss, you should definitely go to open discussion and like announce like, hey, everyone, like I have this idea. Anyone want to talk about it? I think that would be great because that channel, that hashtag needs some work or some more activity, I think.
Rev,
So-
I think Brandon was.
Not really, but one thing that's been on my mind is I've been hearing a lot about people talking about the role that social media plays in our lives, and especially in teenagers and college kids, and how it's ubiquitous and people are just stuck in their tablet or whatnot. And I'm thinking to myself, like, a lot of these kids are in school and they're basically coerced to doing and like what other alternative do they have? Like I think this is like like within our species, it's like an evolutionary selection to choose the alternative here. Like what's better to do with our time? Should we be really focusing our minds and attention on all this mindless like shit that we learn in school that really doesn't like kids don't even know like what they want to do with their lives or why they're even going into school and taking out loans and all this. And obviously the college um I mean the college industry's been exposed as a racket. And so I don't understand why. I mean, I do understand why, but I find it that the discussion around the issue is how social media, the role of social media plays in our society these days, and how it's detrimental to us. I'd actually argue that it's less detrimental to us. I'd say that it brings us together in ways that humanity wants to come together and connect with each other. For instance, like there's people I meet online that I I would otherwise not be able to meet anywhere else. And since we've established the connection online, I can now take that from the virtual and meet these people in real life somewhere and allow that relationship to evolve. And I don't see how that's a detriment to. I don't think that that's a detriment to us. And and I think a lot of a lot of kids are doing that these days. And
Oh, yeah,
especially as we're all all the kids that growing up in the society these days have some piece of technology in their hands
that's an
from
interesting
go.
topic, Rev. Let's try to finish what Jack brought up, the question he brought up though first.
Okay, excuse me.
So Jack, I have two suggestions, and I would be delighted to help you go forward with both, uh, especially in the beginning. So for a while, I've been realizing that we really could use a podcast about the new human rights movement and about the transition to a post scarcity world. And
Nice.
that could be an option if you want to do that, because I think that would what that would allow you is to be able to choose the people that you will talk with, and so you can ensure that there are people that you consider, um, that it won't just be anybody that shows up in the discussion, and so it'll make for very interesting discussions. And you could do that, and then you could plan them ahead, and so that it'd be in a schedule that would work for everybody that you're inviting to the discussion. That would, I think, would be that could, I think that might fill in your need for a deep discussion, and it also would bring something of extreme value to the movement.
Say that I had something like this already in my head, but I wanted, used to, I'll repeat myself again. So I used to have a meeting in Kiev with a lot of people coming, but it's just normal people from the street, but usually people that had a lot of opinions about society. And they would come and would have like this surface level discussion sometimes, but sometimes they would go deeper, but people would mostly be there to just like reconfirm their understanding about things. But this thing is amazing because if I could sit together with a bunch of people that understand the materials and we would not only talk about like dry things about resource-based economy. I mean, we could talk about anything like we could talk about something provocative, like for example, maybe we should have a vegan society, and then you have, I'm sure that a couple of people from TZM, they don't like that it should be a vegan society. Why should we eat animals? And I mean, I don't know. Like it could be a lot of different subjects that have maybe a broader interest from people.
So the other option that I suggest, and both of them are good ideas, is to hold meetings here on the server about that are deep discussion, and you could set the topic in advance, and we could help invite people to the meeting. The way to do that is to invite people like at least 6 days in advance, and then remind them the day before, and we could help you do that and see how that goes. Um, which would be a more informal and open option to what you are asking for, which may be more in line with what you just suggested.
Yeah, it's a good idea. So maybe we could start with that and have a bunch of people that are interested in discussing different things, and then we could see maybe we could now take some of the people and create yeah a live podcast. But it could actually be funny to have it not too formal, like you know what I mean? Like people would, yeah. I cannot express myself. I didn't think about it completely.
I think we should, yeah, sure, speak in everyday terms that people can identify. We certainly don't want some over intellectualized podcasts using fancy terminology. Excuse my language. You know, um, on just I think we need to speak in everyday terms for people, and obviously drive home the core train of thought, and kind of dedicate episodes, theme them around certain things, and be efficient with them. I don't think we need like uh, another rambling podcast out there, like 3 hour rambling podcast. But I mean,
Yeah,
everyone has their different styles.
I
But
agree.
yeah.
But I want to say that like Revolution now sort of takes care of that for us. I think Peter pretty much covers most of the topics that are on our minds.
There's so many brilliant
He does it pretty well.
people out there. Like, I mean, there's so many brilliant people in here that I come across all the time that, I mean, could honestly run their own podcast. I mean, I think that's generally agreed. We definitely need more content. I think it was on the agenda we had put it. I mean, just always kind of at the forefront. Yeah. Were you going to say
I
something,
think
Sean? Yeah. Well, I mean, Peter goes on there and shoots the shit one time or another with people, but generally he stays very focused. And we've come to appreciate his just conceptual breakdown of things. But he obviously, not to make it so much about him, but I mean, he does a good job of just kind of bringing things down to earth and breaking just when things get a little heavy or whatever.
Yeah,
He keeps it chill. But yeah,
but
there's a diversity of people out there. Obviously, that's the point. So yeah.
but this sort of circles back to what my issue was before about the role of social media in our day, and that's I find myself actually watching a lot of listening to a variety of podcasts and YouTube talks and streamers and stuff, and I find myself that like a lot of it's actually really anti-productive in my life, and I find it to be like just a waste of my time. And it's like after you get to a threshold where you learn you can only learn so much about a topic. It's like I've exhausted my motivation to continue learning, and I find it that I just watch it just to fill my time in the absence of not being able to fill my time with people because I'm isolated and I don't have much of a social life where I'm at. So I'd like to just make the point that sometimes that maybe it's I I, I, I think that the social media does is detrimental in that aspect, and I think that maybe podcasting and things like that might not. I don't know. It might not be the best thing to do
I
because it's contributing to people to waste of people's time when there's already plenty of information out there for us to be
I
able to
think
read.
Mark, what do you want to say?
yeah, I wholeheartedly disagree. I think the more content we have out there, the better. And if people are, you know, yeah, it's. I think it's
I
fantastic.
agree with you, Mark.
I think that maybe we are. Sorry.
I agree with you.
Me
I,
too.
I think we may be coming to a moment where it'd be good to start thinking about wrapping up the official part of the meeting. So, is there anything that any of you would like the group to do for you? Something simple that we all can do in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, well, it's not. Sorry, did anyone else? I don't want to hog the mic here.
You go.
Quickly, I just have content here, whether if it's e-scene, also for in perspective from TZM Iceland, or even I mean, Brandon is making so much content right now that will be very interesting to see. I don't know if he'll make it into like a podcast or video format, although we have spoken about the idea about bringing in a new kind of uh, cast back in the movement that represents activity, maybe even continuing in all seriousness, something that Peter actually started. Even Case is working on something that he was talking about side talks or something like this. So he's doing something. And then my brother-in-law is also working on basically the TZM Ukrainian video series, which is more focused towards the Eastern Russian, Ukrainian, and even kind of like even perhaps Mongolian kind of like realm of like culture and understanding of how to grasp TZM. So there's that, and then just there's lots of content that's basically on the horizon, I think, in the movement. And of course, the more the merrier, and especially like when it comes to things culturally or whatever, that we have things also able to be rendered into the local language, so other people in that area can get involved, and not necessarily just a global community or people that just agree on the stuff, because we have to be a lot more broad, because this is not, we're not talking, so to say, personally, but for literally everyone.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that's
I agree.
important.
I agree with that, and I also agree that we maybe I think it is a good idea to put more content out there.
Mark, did you have
But
to say
I'm to what you were saying, Rev. Like, there's so much stuff out there. We don't just want more nonsense, wasting our time because,
We have
we
enough
have
of it.
a certain amount of time every day and we want to stay relevant, and I think that's important in everyone to, always try to keep staying relevant, keep
I
ourselves
think
on
I
our
I think I
point.
think the topics that TZM just can bring to the discussion are relevant, and and yeah, I hope they'll motivate people and drive them to adopt some of the values that we share.
Yeah, and as long as we can still signpost what are kind of core introductory materials to people so that people don't get overwhelmed when they first see that amount of content.
Yeah.
It's and plus we need content in general. So whether it's video, media, I mean music, Sean's making and Lone Wolf, if you could like link some of your songs, it'd be great. I'll
Oh
definitely
yeah.
definitely spread them around and lyrically just speak to the train of thought and just speak to this worldview and way of treating each other and this direction for society and all that stuff. So that'd be good. And then, but just yeah, media in general. I mean, podcasts. We need content creation. That and we need to spark back a collaborative community of content creation, whatever that means to whatever person. It's going to be different for everybody. I definitely plan to put together a little video mini series of conceptual videos, detailing what scientific, aspect of the movement is, just kind of going video by video of different principles and concepts like the holistic aspect, systems, structural change, maybe list out the policy stuff or, do one dedicated to the cultural stuff, the bias, the identity attachments and false narratives that people fall into. And I mean, you could just kind of go one by one, getting beyond races and classes and the whole oneness worldview that human singularity unification. So you just kind of go. I think we need to kind of get back to first principles, if you will, or maintain them rather. I mean, always be driving these crucial aspects of what the movement is, and making media of it. Like I said, whatever that means. If it's a talk you record, it could just be creative. Just that's what we used to do and what we've always done and intended to do. We just had to kind of grow back a lot of our roots. Our root system has grown really well. You don't necessarily see a lot of leaves right now, but our root system is really, really strong right now, foundationally, conceptually.
I think during this time of COVID and everything, I think people have had a lot of time to like rethink things, like about their own lives and also about society generally, because so many things has changed so quickly and rapidly and on a huge scale. And not just rethink the immediate situation that one can be in, but also just more time to sit and think. And we've had to be home, most of us, way more than you know just this century. People stay inside more than usual than other centuries back in the past, but now it's even more. So it's like, you know we've been really sitting at home, in our rocking chairs or whatever.
Yeah,
And
but it,
I think that it spiritually or philosophically, we're digging our roots deeper. And that just means that it's a lot of pressure here, psychologically and emotionally. And I think um, pressure in many ways, you know we see it as negative anyway, but also pressure in many other ways can lead to very positive things. Like, what do you do at the gym? You push, weights, and you really challenge your muscles to break down, tears up, and then you rest and they build up. And I feel like we have a lot of great stuff coming soon, as things start to wrap up, with this whole big thing going on. And I feel like we have a lot to look forward to. I feel like we're gonna get to the next step soon. And yeah, a lot of good stuff is gonna come out soon, I think. Like, personally, I'm looking forward to Clifford's series, their Link series that he's gonna do, and like all of these cool projects that all of y'all are doing. Like, it's crazy. I feel like now it's a silent moment in time in many ways, but I feel like it's gonna change soon. And I think we should all keep our hopes up and keep on doing those underground gains, so to speak.
yeah.
Yeah, so I totally agree. I think that we can all be really satisfied about where we are, how far we've gotten over the past couple years. We have a lot going on now all over the world, and more activity is sprouting everywhere. And yeah, I'm really happy with how things are going. I'd like to thank you all for coming, and I think um, we can wrap up the official part of the meeting now. I can't stay today, but everyone can stay to continue chatting. Um, I will make sure to write the call to action in a few days with what people have asked. If anyone has something else that they want to ask, group task section of the notes, and yeah, I just would like to remind you all that you are heroes of humanity, and I say that with all seriousness. So thank you all for all the work that you're doing, and keep doing it. Just keep doing it. We'll make it. So enjoy a shared world.
Thank you, Mark.
You too.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks, Mark. Wait, but I thought there are no heroes.
Yeah, and good luck, Mark, with your thing with the sharing of stuff and all the cool stuff you're doing.
Oh, I see what he's saying. Because there are no living heroes, but we are the heroes because once we're dead, at least we fought for something that was worth fighting for in the end, right?
I have a
Yeah.
question. I have a question for that because, I think it was mentioned earlier that sometimes it gets lonely. Yeah? I mean, you walk around the society and you feel some kind of maybe alienation or like there's trying to get more and more money. There's a culture of getting more and more, and if you are spending time educating yourself and trying to do something, you basically put yourself in a risky situation. Wrong word, but you for sure don't. You could have been spending your time earning money,
Yeah.
increasing your status, increasing your power, increasing your the girls around you. I mean, like I'm trying to. What I'm trying to ask is, and what I'm trying maybe to say is that sometimes I feel that is where you could share and complain and if we ever have a podcast, maybe sharing things that are more soft. I don't know how to explain it, but like we could have discussions that are maybe drawing in people that like to talk about things that are like what is wrong in society, what do we feel when like a homeless person is laying there like we do. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
No, I know. I understand what you're saying. I look forward to. I look forward to actually joining. I mean, attending in the in-person meetings we have all over the world. At some point, I hope to be able to travel again, and maybe by that time, I'll have a girlfriend that'll travel with me, and I can take her along and attend some meetings with you guys and form new friendships with people all over common interests.
It's because you guys, for example, said that a lot of people are opening their eyes, and I think also, but I think a lot of people are very confused because in my social circle, I mean, I don't know, like I feel very weird sometimes because everyone is so obsessed with money, and now it's crypto time. Everyone's talking about crypto and which coin to invest in. And I get it, like you want to invest some money in crypto maybe to get some money, but
Yeah,
but like
and
it's just such a big thing. Like there is no space for the other things in the realm. I mean, in the minds, and I feel that's why I feel very sometimes I need a TZM to have a discussion or like
Yeah,
just share things.
exactly. I mean, I find myself a- assets, but there is room in my mind for things that like we talk about, but I I, th- I th- I also have to consider my long-term life and how it's going to pan out. And unfortunately, finances, at least at this time, it, it seems like it's not going away. I hope it does evolve, and we evolve into a more hybrid economy, and we create new incentives, and we move away from this old framework that we've been held hostage to for so long. Uh, and I remain optimistic about it, but at the same time, I do find myself spending the majority of my time just learning skills to be able to make money. Um, but it's still at like I, I I still keep one foot in this movement, and then I also try to focus on my life and improve my situation financially, because obviously that's the only way I'm going to have any power in my life to be able to do things that I want to do. You know, like you more money is going to be allow me to travel, and then I'll be able to meet people who actually do have the same who think alike. Because I'm not finding anybody that thinks like us in the workplace. Um, you know, or just generally where I am. Nobody thinks like us. Every- Everybody is pretty much obsessed and with 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 status and money and all of that, and they have their own little cliques, and I always find myself alienated from those cliques, and not even by choice. Even if I want to join them, it's like you don't have the status and the wealth and that it factor about me, and I'm excluded already.
Yeah, well, you're definitely not the only one who's been through that, trying to get through the normal working life and things. And I found I ended up trying to find sort of a town that was at least a little bit more forward thinking, I suppose, or an area where there was a bit more, active community activity going on. But it can be, you know, really you're in a really shitty financial situation for ages, and it can be fucking pretty difficult to move house when you got nothing for a deposit. So I know how hard that's been.
Yeah.
It's also such a vicious circle, yeah, because like you don't have money, you have stress. Now you start eating shitty foods because you want to numb yourself because the emotions just get too big. Like you're calculating how much you have for next month because you might be on the street. I don't know where you guys live, but if you are for somebody in Ukraine, I don't know, but somebody here from Ukraine, if you're in
Yeah.
Ukraine, and yeah, so like I mean, you need to provide some money because you end up on the street or something. So I don't know. I'm trying to say, yeah, the stress, it's awful, and it's very difficult to now have big ideas about society. When so you need so this thing with the economy should for sure be taken care of, because I also have like, but it's like a constant distraction, constant this money thing. It annoys me so much.
Yeah, and I find a lot of my stress comes from the people I'm working with, even if it's in an office environment. I worked last year in an office environment, and even as we were like seeing all these issues around us, and some sometimes people would discuss it. Anytime I would open my mouth and like try to talk about it in a way um, that's like the things we talk about, then like I was kind of more like people kind of just like brush me off like, dude, you're crazy. Like, don't even talk to us like that. And then in turn, like, especially the people that I found that were like higher in the hierarchy in the office environment, like nobody wanted to hear anything I had to say. Nobody cared about that. Everybody just wanted to, just do your job, do your thing, try to relate to people as much as you can, but don't break the status quo. Just, play along. And when I found myself trying to play along, I found myself actually miserable and depressed because nobody wanted to actually talk about anything that was meaningful or positive. And I was doing these tasks. For instance, like I had an administrative position where I was doing these. I was I was literally like filing cabinets on paper with paper. And when we had a machine in our office, a device that had all of these papers in digitized format that were signed. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why are we making copies of all of these papers and just to store them in a cabinet when we have them in a digital format and they can be backed up and stored in a database. And then it occurred to me that, like, oh, this, and the only reason I'm getting paid to do this is so that I have this meaningless role, you know and I can't tell you like how much time I wasted just for 8 hours. I had to go into work and sit in an office and just do nothing for 8 hours a day just to collect money and and just do the most stupidest tasks that could easily be automated. And there's no excuse for keeping those other than, you have to be here for 8 hours a day and collect money because that's the society we live in and that's just the way things work.
It's very
It was
destructive.
so miserable,
Yeah.
so destructive, so miserable, so depressing. And I felt like I was chained to my desk, when like, even if I wanted to like step outside and go and take walks around the building outside, just because I couldn't stand sitting in my desk for 8 hours a day. And like every like few hours I'd have to get up, and of course when I'd get up I'd get like looks from like upper management, and they'd be like, oh, like he's trying to stray from his desk, you know what I mean? Like, and they try to make you feel guilt, they try to make me feel guilty there. And there's just this cultural and this environment of oppression and and just this like slave like fucking hierarchical oppression. And it was like, you guys, like, lighten the fuck up, like seriously. And everybody knows it too, and we can't do anything about it. But what pisses me off is when I'm in that environment, and then people start treating you with narcissistic cluster B abusive sort of traits.